Welcome to Harvest to Pour, the business of beverages, with your host, Matthew Schiff. This is the podcast for all of those who are involved in the agriculture all the way to the distribution of beverages. And now your host, Matthew Schiff.
Hello and welcome to Harvest to Pour. I'm your host, Matthew Schiff, and today I'm here with Jamie Jeske, the co-founder of Cosecha Coffee Roasters in St. Louis, Missouri. How you doing today?
Good morning, Matthew.
Well, thanks for having me out at your coffee shop. So if you guys hear any kind of ambient noises, some grinding going on, espresso machine, you know we're in his coffee shop here talking to him today. So let us know a little bit about the Cosecha Coffee and how it came to be. What's your story behind where you are now?
Yeah, I'll give you a little story here because it helps with the background. And so basically, about 2005, a friend of mine was doing some home roasting, and he came over to my house and he said, "Here, you know, I know you enjoy coffee. I'll try this." And so I'm like, "Sure, I'll brew it up." So I brewed it up, and I was really blown away by just the difference in coffee that was roasted just 48 hours ago versus coffee that you would buy at the grocery store. And I got really intrigued by that. So then the next thing you know, I order a hot air popcorn popper and some green coffee. And
the only one I've heard do that before. This is good.
And I just started roasting my own. And so we would talk back and forth about it. My friend's name is Gio Sparks, and we knew their family from church. And so we'd get together a lot and talk about coffee. And I used to travel a lot for my previous career in international business. And so I was on a plane one time and just throwing around the idea. And I thought, I'd always wanted to be an entrepreneur and start my own business. And so I thought, this is something that we could do that really would be very little startup, but could also just do it as a side hustle. Mm-hmm. And so I just pitched the idea to him one time because I have sales and marketing background and international business, and he's IT and just more technical. And so, we could possibly start a little business. And really one of our things that piqued the interest was not just the fresh roasted coffee, but was the fair trade coffee. He had been to Guatemala a lot, his wife, and I've been to Mexico. And so we really were looking for just a way to help farmers get a fair price for coffee, because 90% of coffee is grown on small family farms. He just wanted to make an impact, as small as ours would be with what I knew we would be doing. And so anyway, he ended up saying yes. And so we just started doing that in 2006, just as a side hustle. And then we kind of fast forward to about 2009, and it was just getting to be too much work, too much to do at the rate we were going. That's how we started moving forward with the idea of opening a coffee bar and bringing on a third business partner to do that.
So were you at the time before 2009, were you just simply roasting and selling out of the garage, so to speak?
Yeah, really, that's what it was. I would call on local grocery stores and businesses, bakeries, churches, offices, and then he would be more the one in charge of the roasting.
So you realized you've gotten a bit bigger and you need to decide what to do with the business. And you decided to go ahead and flip it into an actual business with a brick and mortar. Take us through some of those early challenges you had and decisions you had to make when doing that.
Yeah, so I think there's a few things we realized that just with the two of us with full-time jobs that we needed to bring on a third business partner. And so we were just really discussing that for a time. And we have a friend who was managing a coffee bar in the city. And so we had asked him if he would be interested in joining us because we wanted to open a coffee bar where we would have an opportunity to meet some of our customers, because when you're just a wholesaler and it's on the shelf somewhere, you get to meet your customers, but you don't get to meet their customers. And so we wanted to be able to meet people who are enjoying the coffee and just be able to continue that conversation about from the harvest to your cup, which was our tagline at the time.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned there was another piece. What was the big decision, like the financial investment piece you were looking at for when you went to grow into a business? What was your approach on that?
Right. So we were currently back then we're operating a very low cost business because all we had was just the warehouse space to roast. And so we realized that opening a coffee bar, not only the build out, but just the payroll and everything would be just another step up or a couple steps up. And so what we just had to realize is like, what do we need to do if we decided as a business that we didn't want to borrow money and take a loan out? How could we be prepared, and where would we need to be in order to get that started?
So you didn't take a loan out? You went ahead and you took on what you've invested back into the company to grow.
Right. So we invested back into the company, and then we partnered with Great Harvest, who was one of our customers, and we decided to share a space, which would help reduce some of the expenses, the rent, the utilities, the build out. And then also I had mentioned, it had taken a couple years. So actually we did not start this process till 2012. And we didn't open till 2018. So it took us a couple years to get to that point.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's neat. So just one thing for, anybody listening, growing this business is sometimes you get that choice whether to grow quick with taking out those loans or start building your nest egg and then invest that back into the company to grow further. So it's a good thing to consider. So let's go into a little bit more of the base story here, the Harvest to Pour journey. So what I usually do is I want to know about the harvest of this is, where you're sourcing your goods, where you're sourcing your beans in this case, why you're sourcing, where you're sourcing from, tell that story. And then we're going to go into, there's a ton of coffee shops, but everybody I've seen makes their coffee uniquely yours. So what makes your coffee uniquely yours? And then the pour kind of goes into the marketing. What are you doing to get the customers in the door, coming back and letting people know about you so you can continue to grow? So let's go back to the harvest. I know it's a big question.
That's a lot of questions.
It's a lot of questions, like getting it out there. But now we're going to break it down into the harvest. Tell us about your sourcing and who you're sourcing from and why you're sourcing from them.
Okay. Yeah, that is obviously one of the core parts of our business because La Cosecha is Spanish for the harvest. And so therefore our first original model was to buy 100% fair trade coffee, which, as most of your listeners probably know, that is to give the farmer a higher price than what the market offers, because coffee is traded on the commodity market, the C market. And so it goes up and down, but this will lock it in. And so they will be given a higher price than what's traded. And so the harvest part really is that we wanted to give back to the farmers. We're not large, but at the same time, we thought we could make an impact. And so we did try to focus on specific areas. And so we always try to have a coffee from Latin America, one or two. We've always had some from Africa and some from the Pacific Rim, Indonesia area. And so basically that just spreading it out to not just have one, but also being maybe a roaster that's focused more geographically or origin wise. And so we wanted people to get familiar with the coffee from those regions. And so some of them have been through our importer, our trader that we've developed a relationship with for 14 years. And so they've gotten to know what we look for and what we like. And they also know that that's important to us. So even though I don't personally visit every single farm that we source from, they do. And they have photos and stories, and they know them personally by name. And so we've gotten to know them that way. There has been a couple other ones that we've worked with where we've bought from the exact same farm every year, and we've been able to send them equipment to help improve their business, like an instrument called a moisture meter, and we were able to send that to them, and they were able to use that to help improve their process from the source.
And that actually helps you in the end too, because you're getting a better product from them.
That's correct.
Okay. That's great. So you said you also have individuals. Why that particular region? What influenced you to really source from that region?
Yeah, so we just tried to, obviously, as a business owner, sometimes you look at what types of coffees you enjoy, but you also want to think about your customer, and we want to give a variety. And so we don't just roast to a certain profile because that's what's said. We actually do what we call kind of our lab series, where we will test a batch the same coffee to like 7 different profiles. And then we will narrow it down with our baristas and our staff to figure out what really brings out the best in this coffee. You don't want to just always do a light roast or a medium roast or a dark roast. You want to find out.
Mm-hmm.
And it is different every year because it's a crop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the same every year.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, and to answer that question about where, so one of the co-founders, Gio, his wife, is from Guatemala. So we've always had a heart for Guatemala. So we've always tried to source coffee from there as our Latin, as well as Mexico and some others we'll add. And then Africa, we've tried different coffees from different countries there just to give someone a very different offer. They have naturally processed coffees. They have just very different soil and things that they grow there that make it taste different. Okay. And then the final one is our Papua New Guinea, which is just a really nice, full-bodied, earthy cup of coffee. One of the top sellers.
That's what I'm enjoying right now. So it does pay to kind of, you have a region and you want to have a certain amount of selection. Tell us on a business point of view, like how do you decide how narrow or how wide do you want to give your offerings? And then we're going to get into how you're making this uniquely yours.
Okay, that's an excellent question because some larger companies can have 13 to 20 different types of coffee, but as a smaller business, you need to know like what is your sweet spot, what can you handle? And we used to mix up a lot of these origins on a regular basis, like every 3 or 4 months. But what we realized as we were growing is that we need to stick with certain origins, certain regions and countries, because it takes a lot of time on a business standpoint to bring a coffee in, sample it, find exactly what works, change your descriptions or your bags or your labels to match that. And so from a business standpoint, you have to find out like what works for you. I believe we have probably currently about 4 single origins, 1 decaf, which is a water process, and then a few of our blends for just our house blend and also espresso.
Right. So moving into what makes La Cosecha's coffee uniquely yours, you said you have to find out what works. So what works best for your coffee or your palate, and what makes you unique from the other 25 coffee shops we have even here in St. Louis?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I like many roasters, and we do roast to order. So we do roast 3 to 4 times a week, and as we get the orders. But I think one thing that's unique about us is that as we started business to business as a wholesaler, then we moved into our coffee bar where we've gotten to meet the people, because so coffee is important to us. Really building relationships with our customers and our suppliers is really the farmers. It's really the most important. And then another thing that sets us apart probably is like a lot of companies that during 2020, during the pandemic, like we did really explore more into online sales, and then which pushed us also into a different avenue, our 4th one, which is our coffee truck. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
Yeah, I saw you have a coffee truck. I also like the slogan on it. It was a harvest to cup, was it? Or was that used to be on there, or is it still on there?
It did say that, from the harvest to your cup.
Yeah, so, and we're in the harvest to pour journey, so this is a great time to let's segue into that just a little bit, because I want also, this is kind of goes into your pour, your marketing. And now a word from our sponsors. Exit 11 Coffee is there for your on-the-go lifestyle. 8 convenient drive-through locations. They bring quality coffee to your car window. Eat it sugar-free, dairy-free, or keto-friendly. At X11, you call the shots. They've got options for every diet and taste. Best part, every sip supports local farms and businesses. Swing by Exit 11 Coffee. Great taste meets small-town values without slowing you down. Hey, are you spinning your wheels trying to figure out what will really boost your business's bottom line? At Emberry Solutions, our Profit Priority Workshop is here to cut through the noise. We help you zero in on what truly matters, aligning your team, optimizing your processes, and magnifying your profit. Imagine your business running smoother than ever, with every decision and effort leading straight to increased profits. That's what focusing on the right priorities can do. Ready to boost your efficiency and profits? Visit Emberry Solutions and let's start making your business work smarter. At Emberry Solutions, take your business from bottlenecks to breakthrough. One of your marketing tools is your coffee truck.
That's correct.
Tell us about that. How that come up to be, how that come up as an idea and an execution, on how's that helping you?
Yeah, it's kind of a fun story because we have some friends that are in the food truck business, and we had several people tell us over the years, you need to get into doing this because nobody does this, and it would be great to have this. And I just wasn't quite ready for that. I was still working my other full-time job and did not want to. I knew it would take a lot of time, which it does. But what happened is our friends that had a cupcake truck, they were stopping that portion of their business. And so their truck became available. And so what we did is we ended up deciding to buy their cupcake truck, which was already done, although we had to change the wrap because it was pink and white, and we had to change the wrap and add our brewing equipment. But we did buy that in 2020, and our first season was 2021. And you're right, that's a marketing tool, meaning like we are able to get out to other areas other than Maplewood and get to meet people, and I get to tell them about our journey and kind of what we're trying to do with the coffee business.
Okay. And we're going to get back into your coffee truck later, because I know you guys have some really cool things people can do with that, bring them out to their area and stuff. So what else as far as marketing? And so now you're in wholesale, and now you have people coming into your shop. What do you do? Kind of keep them bringing back. I know I've seen some social media. It's really good. And just take us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So of course, as a small business, you have to take advantage of free marketing, which would be like Instagram, which has been we've used that tool quite a bit. Also, just Maplewood here does have a lot of events that they host throughout the year. One of them that we've started from the beginning and so that's a good way to get 1,000 people just as your captive audience to tell them and show them what you do. And so, events that Maplewood, a small community like Maplewood, hosts about 4 or 5 year, we try to take advantage of those. We've also just tried to really work with our staff to be personable, get to know our customers, our regulars. We have a lot of regulars, and if they are able to have a good experience here with the coffee and the service, then hopefully they will tell their friends and family, and they will come visit us.
All right. So where do you want to take La Cosecha Coffee next? Where do you want to grow to? What do you see in the next 12 to 18, 5 years?
Well, we have been discussing that quite a bit lately because we are getting to the point on our roasting side of business, the wholesale business, that we're just growing out of our current space.
Yeah, take us through that. We were in our earlier talk, we were talking about how you're starting to think about getting creative to meet the demands of your wholesale business. And right now you're roasting basically on a postage stamp. Right behind the bar is the roaster, right next to the espresso machine, right next to everything else, and then you're bagging and you're getting this out to your grocers. Tell us what you're thinking about doing.
Yeah, so that is, you described it accurately. When we moved in, we thought, it would be great to feature the roaster. We'll have it behind the bar. People will see that we also roast in addition to serving great coffee. But as we've grown and we have the roasting production days that we roast and then bag, we have a very small space. So what we realize is what we need is to be looking for a roasting facility where we can just have more space to accommodate the growth. And that, it'd be a great place that possibly we could invite people on tours and maybe some education classes and some tastings and things like that.
So right now you're looking to go there. So how do you get creative here with that when it's roasting day, bagging day, and you have an active coffee shop going on?
Yeah, so we really just don't roast much during the day, during business hours. We might start our production at that time, but we try to do most of it after hours where we can take over the whole space.
Okay. Imagine it gets quite warm in here when that roaster's running.
It gets warm, and it can get noisy at times with all the things going on here. And so, but that is part of the business. It's whether it be the roaster going or the espresso machine. It's just, we're grinding coffee, we're packing up orders. It's part of the business. And some people really enjoy that part. They like to come and watch.
Another thing I've noticed here, I was looking at your website and seeing some of the pictures of your staff and what they're doing. And I come back in here as the same exact staff. And I think it's been like that for quite a while. You have a very, seems to me, just from the outside looking in, your turnover is very low and you're really keeping your staff here. So what do you think the secret is to that? Because you're not the only, a lot of people struggle with that turnover. And that doesn't seem to be one of your problems.
Oh man, that you hit a good topic, because I do think that when I talk to other business owners and they share with me their struggles about keeping staff and the turnover, I realize how blessed we are, because we just really you're correct. We have a couple people who have been here over 5 years, and that's unheard of in this type of service industry. But we really try to treat everyone like family, and we try to challenge them. And so as we're growing, I think that was one of your things that you're alluding to, is like, how do you move forward? And so myself as a business owner and my other two, Gregory Lowe and Matt Dilly, we try to give them more ownership in the business and more responsibility. So what we're trying to do is, so we can be looking forward and looking at a new location and figuring out how to go about the next 5 to 10 years. We try to give them ownership in their areas. So we've defined some roles so they can take on more of a leadership part. And I just want to always keep them interested in the business. I don't want anyone to go stagnant and just get bored with it. So, and it is a fun environment to be around.
Oh, yeah. So what do you feel your team is best at?
I think that really, I do think that making a connection with the customers that come in and just getting to just know what they do and what drinks they enjoy, and able to talk to them about other things other than just coffee. It's really just a personable level. I feel like they all have that quality, and that just helps us be a little bit different, a little bit more warm, welcoming place to come into.
And finally, this one's kind of for me, but with your team, how do you get them to collaborate over a possible challenge? Like, I know a lot of coffee shops live and die by their checklists, but even if you have a checklist, you're making assumptions everybody knows exactly what the next check is supposed to do, and possibly translating it differently, and it's not working out. So how do you go through maybe like troubleshooting or coming together to collaborate on fixing these challenges where you're like, well, it's right here. Why why isn't it working?
Yeah. So, one thing I've realized is that if we do have a couple of our staff members as more of a managerial level, then there is that buffer really between us and them and the rest of the staff. But also, they do a very good job at communicating at shift change. Like, this is what I've been able to do, but this is what still needs to be done. And they just always make sure we always have an overlap where they're able to either help that person if they've been busy, or also pass on what to be done for the next shift. And then there's things like our seasonal menu. Like, I have nothing to do with our seasonal menu. I enjoy trying all the drinks on there, but they take ownership and create everything.
That's great. So you're completely independent from the menu that they come up with, and it's working really well for you.
That's right.
That is great. That's a well done milestone. All right. So I know you've touched on it, but I want you to, is there any other advice you'd give to someone who wants to start a coffee shop or any kind of beverage industry, getting into it now? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think probably one of the most important is just getting out there and talking to, meeting some other small business owners, whether it be in the coffee, roasting business or a cafe, and just trying to ask them questions. I'm always happy to questions, because I don't want people to make the same mistakes we've made, perhaps. I also want them to have realistic notions. I know it's a dream. It's one of the things you hear a lot owning a coffee business. It's always been my dream to have a coffee.
Yeah, somebody will say, oh, it's just a passion. I'm like, no, you want to grow the business. You want to make something out of this. You need to eat yourself. So it has to be a passion, but it's got to be a little bit more.
Yeah, it looks more glamorous than it is. But I just think that talking to the business owners, so you have a realistic idea of really how you should start. If you have an investor who is willing to pay for a lot of things, then maybe you can start quicker. But if you don't, then I always say start with a smaller menu, a smaller staff, a smaller hours, and then you can always build that up as people get to.
All right, right. So I got a final couple questions here, and this one's kind of fun. So within the coffee shop, your business, what is your favorite beverage? And then when you're just out on the town, it doesn't have to be coffee. What is your favorite beverage?
Yeah, I have a couple things. I mean, I'm enjoying a cortado. That's usually what I like to have for a mid-morning. If I'm meeting a friend or someone for coffee, I enjoy that. But in the morning, I do go black. So I usually either have just a brewed coffee, or I will, if we have an early morning truck event that I'm helping with, then I'll just have an espresso just to get the day started. So, and when I'm out and about, yeah, I like to probably, if the place has an espresso machine and their menu looks decent, then I do like to try their espresso, because I feel like it's a good base to try to see, where they're coming
and how they're doing it and how the team is. Okay, great. And finally, do you have any upcoming events or promotions, or just like to talk a little bit more about I'm sorry about I keep on messing up the name a little bit.
It's, you can say LC for short. Yeah. I know that Spanish sometimes, looking at it, it looks more difficult than it is.
I keep on wanting to add more syllables for some reason. I have no idea why.
Yeah. So, one thing I was going to touch on that, even though we're not a mission-minded nonprofit business, we do try to have a mission in mind. And so there are a few things that we do. And if you go on our website, you can see that we try to have a local impact and a global impact. And so where we give back. And so, like our tagline used to be, from the harvest to your cup, we've shortened it to harvest the good, because what we really want to do, like I was talking, having good relationships customers. Well, so, we will help support. Just this past summer, we did a special coffee called Brick City. And it was, what we did is $5 of every bag went to Love the Lou, which is an organization in North St. Louis, just to help revitalize the neighborhoods. And also we have partnered with Living Water, because obviously water is very important to the world, to coffee. And so there's no reason why really everyone shouldn't have access to clean water. And so Living Water, they will drill wells in countries that do not have access, or it's very far to find clean water. So we will also help contribute a portion of our sales to Living Water as well.
Great. So where else, if somebody's not here local to St. Louis, but they're curious, where can they find you?
So they can find our coffee on the shelf at different grocery stores, such as Global Foods in Kirkwood or Local Harvest in the Tower Grove neighborhood. We also are at the Fresh Times in the area, 7 of those. And of course, we offer a lot online, so we will be happy to ship to anyone our coffee all over the country.
All right. And if you are kind of local, but you want to bring the coffee, they want to bring the coffee to them, what can they do with your trucks?
So yeah, the coffee truck, who we have affectionately named Brewster, he is available between March and November mostly. We do close him for the winter months, because it's just a little bit hard on trying to offer that when we don't know what the weather is going to be like here in St. Louis. So what we do is, there are a lot of schools and there's a lot of businesses that will book the truck for a 2-hour package, and we will come out and serve them any type of espresso drink, a latte. We also have tea and lemonade for the non-coffee drinkers, but that's been very popular. It's been a good way. Not only do they feel appreciated by their school or company, but they also, it makes you happy if you have a free drink. So that's been good. And we also hit the farmers market. So we hit Kirkwood Farmers Market every Saturday from 8 to 12. And we do events at Lohmeyer Sculpture Park and also the Botanical Garden.
All right. That's good to know. If anybody in the area, check out their Brewster, the coffee truck. All right, Jamie, I really want to thank you for your time, sharing your story. I really like this has grown from a side hustle to starting from the B2B, then making that decision to like, oh, we got to switch things, or we're getting overwhelmed. This needs to become a business. And what sounds like growing your business patiently, having making sure you had the funds to take the next step. Now you're getting to the point to where you're looking to expand into a larger area for your roasting, which is successfully going into groceries now, and And again, it seems like very patient steps, and I think your team reflects that as well. They consistently are quite loyal, being here with you and helping you grow your business. So again, Jamie, thanks for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Matthew.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Harvest to Pour, the business of beverages with Matthew Shep. Check the show notes for our guest contact information and connect with Matthew Shep on LinkedIn today.